Welcome. In front of me I have the Samsung Galaxy M34, and today I will show you a couple tweaks and the tricks you can do on this phone. So to get started, we can open up our settings. And I'm going to start off by navigating into the display section where we'll have a bunch of different things. So starting off, we do have light and dark mode. We do have the permanent switches right here, so you can swap between them. But more interestingly, we do have the dark mode settings, which allows you to swap between those two modes on a schedule, either sunset to sunrise, or on a custom schedule of your choice, which is my preferred go-to option right here. And what we'll do is, for instance, during the daytime, the phone will be running in a light mode, and once the sun goes down, it will switch to dark mode, giving me, well, best of both worlds arguably, because during the nighttime, if I wake up and want to check my phone, I'm not gonna get flashbanged by my own device, which is a positive in my book. Now, moving further down, we have smooth motion. We have two options, either the 120 Hz refresh rate or standard, which runs at 60. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because 60 will give you a better battery life, so if you only want that, you can change it here. So standard and just select apply. I personally prefer the high one with a nice smooth battery motion, so that's what I'm gonna stick, and I guess screw the battery. Now, moving a little bit further down, we have the screen mode. Now, Samsung's always come with vivid mode enabled for some reason. I personally find it to be egregiously oversaturated, as you can possibly see it right here. And personally, I do like to have it set to natural. It is simply a preference, so if you like the oversaturated colors, that's great, stick with them. But for everyone who finds them just a little bit too saturated, you do have the option to switch it to something a little bit more toned down. And arguably, vivid mode in certain images looks better. So for instance, here with the Aurora Borealis, if we enable it, you can see that the colors start to pop a little bit more. Obviously looks better than the natural. But in case of something like this image right here, these two do vary quite significantly. Now, moving on into next option, it's the gesture navigation, which here it's called navigation bar, and we have the swipe gestures. That's what I personally prefer, the gesture navigation, so that's what I'm going to enable. We also have additional option for it, like the gesture hints, which is basically this bar at the bottom. Though if you tend to use third-party launchers, I would highly recommend against turning that off. And the reason for that is as far as I'm aware, this just shifts the button or the bar below the screen, so it's not visible, and then completely screws up gestures sometimes. So on my phone, which is also a Samsung, I had problems with this kind of gesture activating, the home gesture, and I would be swiping up sometimes 4 times in a row before the device decided to allow me to go home. Now, just to clarify this is not a skill issue, because by re-enabling the gestures, it goes back to functioning just fine. It's just with third-party launcher, at least on my device, and the gestures being off, it starts to get a little bit wonky in terms of recognizing the gestures. Obviously, it's Samsung, so it's probably done deliberately, and they're not going to be fixing it, as most of the things that infuriate us about it, because they, I believe, benefit a little bit more from you using their launcher, so they wouldn't want you to swap between to something else, which is also one of the reasons why certain features won't work on the third-party launcher. And I'm talking about the dock that comes preloaded with the Android 12 or 13L. It's a default edition from Android, but Samsung disables it with a third-party launcher. So just wanted to clarify this for people that might be interested and maybe thinking that they're going to come back to this section later just to get a nice clean look with the device actually finally functioning after certain updates. I wouldn't count on it. So moving on, we have Hedge Panel, which is this barely visible panel on the side right here. I can whip it out right now and you can see it. So It will give us access to a couple different applications right here. So the first 3 actually will swap between what you use most frequently, and the 3 bottom one, or 4 bottom ones by default, I guess, will basically be locked to these applications. Now we can customize this. We can also pick applications that aren't visible by just tapping on this grid and having, whoops, all our applications accessible to us that are on the phone. Now, with that being said, we have a couple options in here. So in terms of panels, here we can add additional new panels, and there might be some that are interesting. We also have the Galaxy Store, which when you open it up, you will probably realize that a bunch of them are actually paid. So free, this one costs a little bit over $1. Free, basically the same one, but free for some reason. Free, okay. Paid. Oops, and I closed it by mistake, but you get the point. We have a bunch of different options right here. Some of them, they're probably a little bit more useful one, will be paid for some reason, so just keep that in mind if you think that something looks good and gives you some actual decent usability out of this feature. It's probably going to be paid. Now, none of these are egregiously priced, so it looks like they basically cap out a little bit below $1. No, this one is below $2. This one is over $2 actually, a volume controller. So not sure why someone wants basically like $2, a little bit over, for something that you get by doing this. But you know, some people might be a little bit kind of, you know, not in the same reality as rest of us are. So anyway, so just wanted to point that out, that you can get new ones, but going back to the default ones, I'm not going to be downloading any. We can utilize the ones that come already pre-installed. There are some that seem useful, like the weather widget. I will say I like the idea of it if it actually worked properly, but again, typical Samsung fashion, not everything works always flawlessly. So right now, because I just added it, it seems to be working fine. It updates it real time. But if you open it up, for instance, tomorrow, you'll still have the right now's weather. Even though, for instance, you might be getting back to it like 20 hours later, you want to check it. And what you then need to do is slide down to refresh it. And the refreshing at times, for me personally, took more time than it takes for me to open up a third-party weather application, have that load the weather, and me being done with it. So in theory, this actually seems very nice, but it doesn't always load as quick as you probably want it to, therefore making it a little bit useless. So something to keep in mind. Now, continuing on into the customization section, we do have, should have some kind of, there we go, customization. So it's handle. I'm not sure why it's named like that, but okay. So we have transparency, we have size, width, colors, and yeah. So just to go over this, let's change the color to orange, make it a little bit less transparent so it's more visible. We can also make the width a little bit bigger so it's, again, more visible. And size just, as you can see, increases or decreases the actual button itself. So there we go. Now preferably I do like it a little bit more transparent. You could completely put it to high and have it almost invisible. We don't have the option to actually hide the outline, unfortunately. So yeah. But if you want to completely hide it, we could put it, because we can't put it all the way, so it's still visible with the outline. We can also switch the side, and there we go. So that's all the customization. Now, one more thing that I can do with this kind of panel right here is add app pairs. So just to demonstrate this, I'm going to open up something like YouTube and browser. If I can find them. Give it a moment. It's a little bit on the slow side. There we go. And you can see we have now two different apps open at the same time. Now, when this comes handy is when you go home. For some reason it wouldn't be visible otherwise. And pull that out, and you can see we have our app pair right here. And then you're gonna grab it, drag it below this little line right here, drop it, and now, even when I close this app pair, we can now access it. Come on. Not sure why it's not actually opening it up, so let me demonstrate how this actually is supposed to look like when it actually works. So, bringing my phone right here, gonna do the same thing, and you can see I do have an app pair right over here, so I'm gonna click on it, and it opens it up. So it gives me 3 different applications that launch immediately when I press on this app pair. So pretty handy tool to utilize. Not sure why it's not working right here at the moment. It should work. I did add it. Not exactly sure why it's struggling with opening it up. But in any case, I'm gonna finish with the side panel and move over to a next option, which is the customized sound equalizer. Not exactly sure how you want to classify this, but we're going to open up our settings and we're going to navigate to sound and vibration, and we're going to scroll down to sound quality and effects, select allow, and then we're going to adapt sound, and again we're going to select allow. And here we have a couple different options that you can choose from. So by default this will be off, and I also want to add this option is strictly, as far as I know, Samsung only and no other device. And what it does is tailors the equalizer sound profile to your hearing. And you do have a couple options right here which are pre-made based on the typical hearing loss that you develop over the years. So here we have under 30, 30 to 60, and 60 and over. So as far as you know, or you should know probably, the older you get, the crappier your hearing becomes. And this tries to accommodate to this kind of hearing loss, and it boosts the frequency that you'd technically stop hearing as good as you used to when you were younger. So as an example, if for instance you don't hear as well high tones, it will detect that you don't hear those as well, and it will make those louder to accommodate for your hearing loss. Now, these are the pre-made ones. I don't recommend utilizing those. I recommend going through Test My Hearing. And for this, you will need to have a very quiet environment. And what it will do is it will start playing different sounds, either through left or right ear. You need to have earbuds for this, either earbuds, headphones, it doesn't really matter. They can be wired or wireless, again, doesn't matter. But it just doesn't work for the phone speakers, only for like peripherals that you would connect to listen to something like music. So from there, in a quiet environment, you want to go through this, select if you can hear the sound either from left or right ear, and obviously answer those questions accurately if you can hear it or not, and it will then tailor a equalizer to your hearing. Now, that being said, there's also additional benefit to this, skipping over the hearing loss and presenting a different alternative to this. If you have some cheap pair of earbuds, they might not be as good at reproducing specific sound frequencies. So it might not be as good at reproducing low tones like the bass and stuff like that. And by going through this, obviously when an earbud is struggling at reproducing this sound, you won't hear it. Not because your hearing is bad, but because the earbuds might not be as good. So at that point, you also go through this, answer it accurately, and it will boost those frequencies that the earbud might be struggling at reproducing at lower volumes, but at higher volume, this hopefully will negate that problem. Therefore, kind of making your earbuds sound better. So go through this, set it up, highly recommend it. Now, With that being said, this would conclude all the tweaks and tricks that I want to show you. So if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.